Go home, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home, go hard, go home. Yeah, these are championship rings on my hands now. In my head I'm top 10, yeah, that's hands down. You a squad, now you're looking man down. Funny how foes turn to friends now. Drive a race car like a Atari now. Call filling up, I need product again. Treat the business like a playground, might slide on you. Do me wrong, might slide on you. Do a backflip, cause I'm mad rich. I'm the definition of what that is. Go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When a circle, turn to my home. Can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, or go home.
What is up? What is up?
What's going
14
on?
days away.
Longhorn Nation, what's up? What's up?
Week 1 starts in 14 days.
14 days. 14 days, man. It's
2
getting
weeks.
closer and closer. The stress levels are getting a little higher. Nervousness, the best time of the year is when you wake up on a nice Saturday morning, you step outside, you hear the dogs barking, you hear people cutting the grass, you smell that barbecue that people are going to be eating on later on that day because the Longhorn is going to be playing, baby.
Man, can't wait. Anyway, before we get too hungry and leave the podcast and go eat, welcome to Longhorn Fan Battle Network. My name is Harish. I'll be your host tonight, and this is my guy to this side, Tim Wayne. Tim Wayne, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. Like I said, I'm ready for the football season to get here. I was even talking week 0, on the pre-production, which you don't care about. But I'm ready for college football, man.
Listen, I was telling Tim how much I don't care about watching Vanderbilt play Hawaii. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't care.
I care. If it's a football being thrown, I'm watching it.
And you know what? And that's why they play the game, because there's guys like you that care about Vanderbilt versus Hawaii.
Right.
But anyway, I don't care about Vanderbilt or Hawaii because I don't represent or go to either of those schools or never have rooted for either of those schools.
Right.
One of them gives me a free win for the rest of my life. So after this season, so I'll just be happy about that. But hey, we've got.
You don't care about the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii?
No, I really don't. The one time that I did care. Remember Colt Brennan, who threw for like 60 touchdowns?
That was awesome.
That was the one year I cared about them, and that was because it was just cool to see a guy throw that many touchdowns.
That was awesome.
That was the original Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Video game numbers. For those of you that don't know Colt Brennan, you're too young and you shouldn't watch this show.
Oh
man. But so we've got an interesting night on the show tonight, right? We've got some interesting things going on. There's not really a lot going on. We'll recap the scrimmage. We'll talk about some other things. And I had an interesting topic that I was listening to Rod Babers earlier today, and he mentioned something that I found really interesting. So we'll get into that later. But first and foremost, before we get to any of the fun stuff, I want to shout out to our guys at fanbattlesports.com.
Yeah.
Please go there for your obviously your Longhorn stuff, as we are finally ready to start posting articles. Last night we've got the page set up. We'll start writing some articles there. But if you're an NFL fan, specifically a fan of the AFC South, you can find all AFC South information there, including teams, all the teams: Colts, Titans, Texans, Jaguars. You can find all the information there.
No Cowboys? No Cowboys?
Hey, man, if somebody wants to start up a Cowboy show, hit us up from the website. It will come directly to us, and we could always talk. We're always talking about expanding. We're actually in the midst of something big here in a couple more days. So
okay,
definitely follow us there. Fan Battle Sports. Of course, we just eclipsed 50 followers.
Nice.
I think we're
nice.
At 60 to be honest.
Nice.
But please tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your aunt, tell your uncle, tell your cousin, tell your dog. LH Fan Battle on Twitter. We're pretty active, I would say, for only being about 3 weeks old in the community.
Right.
By we, I mean me. I definitely spend a lot of time on there. So please interact with us. We'd love to chat. I love to chat, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
I will probably be there being very, very biased to the Texas Longhorns because that's the battle.
I'll jump in there too. I like to get in there. I don't get as mixy as you when it comes to like arguing. Yeah. I'll disagree with some stuff and then I'll go on,
No, I like to drive arguments into the ground.
Right. That's why I let you do that.
Yeah.
I'll let you go on that one.
It is called a battle for a reason.
Right.
So
it is right.
That's what we're in there for. All right. So yeah, please hit us up on Twitter. We love to interact with folks. Please follow us on Facebook.
Right.
Sorry, not Facebook. Please follow us on YouTube. I think we just hit 5. I think we just hit like 5 subscribers, so we're getting there. We're still kind of small.
Yeah, putting in some work.
Yeah, just tell your neighbors, tell everyone, and it'll be a grand old time.
Yep.
So Tim, let's start out this week.
Yeah.
Hear me? Oh, there we are.
Yep.
Don't know what's going on. All right. So let's start this week by talking about the scrimmage. So this is probably like a mid camp ish. Yeah, no, it's a mid camp scrimmage, right?
Right.
Camp started in a couple weeks ago, ends in a couple weeks. We are at the midway point of the scrimmage. I read an article today that I went after.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this article, and I was not very happy with what I was seeing, and it disappointed me. Who wrote the article, where it came from, because I generally tend to really like the content these guys put out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna say who it is, but there's an article written about how Arch Manning is closing in on Quinn Ewers after the scrimmage from Saturday. Now,
you're joking, right?
No, I'm not. I actually tweeted about it earlier today.
Oh,
here's the thing. First off, very, very poor reporting on behalf of this place, and I don't.
Is this somebody that we both like, or is this somebody?
Yes. It is an organization that we both like, and it is not OB. So
okay, OB does not. They don't carry themselves like that.
They don't write stupid stuff like that.
Right.
But it is a. I'll tell you about it later. But listen, Arch Manning is not starting at Texas.
No.
Barring
injury.
Listen, every
even
quarterback
barring injury, he still might not start.
Malik Murphy and Quinn Ewers have to be out for the season for there to be a player, right?
Right.
Arch Manning may play a little bit.
He might get some scrub time.
Against Wyoming, he might get some time. He might get some time against, the first game of the season. He might. Against Rice, he may, because both of those teams are scrubs, right?
Right.
Arch Manning is not playing this year. Arch Manning is nowhere close. Quinn Ewers is the starter. So let's go ahead and put that to rest, right? But I just find it interesting that all of a sudden out of nowhere, and the reason why I think this is coming up is in the scrimmage, Arch Manning ran for 50 yards. He ran a 50-yard touchdown. That's one of the plays that he had.
Yeah, it's been talked about quite a bit by all major sports outlets, right?
Of
so
course.
ESPN, CBS, 247 Sports, so everybody that you can think of in regards to that scrimmage and watching, whoever had eyes on it. And that was a close scrimmage. It was only, it wasn't open to the media. I mean, it wasn't open to the public, but the media got to sit in there and really watch and see what was going on. So that was one of the main highlights of that scrimmage, is that 50-yard scamper that Arch had.
Yep. So before I kind of talk through this, what are some things that stuck out to you in the scrimmage, just in general? And what are some things that you saw?
So one of the main things that was reported that I
heard,
that was really, really positive was the actual depth of receivers, right? From a standpoint of, if the Big 12 has a lot, they're going to have a lot to deal with this offense. From a standpoint of, like, when Texas is to spread the ball out or run into the spread situation, you're going to have a lot of issues, right? You're not going to be able to cover everyone. And the fact that you're not going to be able to cover everyone works in our favor. I read a report on one reporter, he made a comment, and he basically said Texas should be scoring at least 40 points
a game.
a game.
Who made this
Honestly,
comment?
huh?
Who
JD
made this?
Pickle.
Okay, JD
JD
Pickle.
Pickle from on three.
On 3, yeah.
Um,
He loves Texas.
right. And if you think about it, he's kind of right.
Yeah.
With the amount of weapons that we have, of course, you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to cover everybody. If you double cover AD Mitchell, you got Xavier Worthy. If you double cover Xavier Worthy, you got Jatavian Sanders, and so on. There's like six studs at wide receiver, right, including 2 freshmen, because Jonte Cook is still he's there. One thing we know about Sark, and this is one of the main reasons why he's here, is because he knows how to utilize the talent that Texas has gotten. And we've both talked ad nauseum over the last couple of weeks since we started that was his main thing. That's what got him, even though he had some bumps in the road, especially at like USC, he was able to redeem himself, going to Alabama and making these Heisman quarterbacks and these Heisman wide receivers and running backs and things of that nature. And so that was the reason why he was brought in, is to be able to put points on the board and to develop the offensive talent, and to get the right people in the places to just kind of bring the team up to speed, develop the players. That was a thing that in the past we talked about since Charlie Strong, which was almost been 10 years since Charlie Strong, to Tom Herman to now, is just the developing these young players, these really talented players. Because even in the past, we've seen, because it's transitioned over to the NFL, that when coached correctly, these players that we recruited and have been on these past teams have been key elements and key pieces to these defenses and offenses within the NFL, whether they're running backs, defensive backs, linebackers, whatever the case may be. They've been coached up, and now they're making these strides in the next level. Of course, that's what a lot of these kids want to do, is to get to the next level. Yeah. That was one thing that kind of stood out to me the most, is that when JD was mentioning that the fact that we should be scoring 40 points. Now, is that realistic? No, it's not realistic. Is it possible? Yes, it is very much possible. So I mean, 40 points, 13 games is going to be difficult.
Period. Yeah. So, which obviously 40 points per game with an offense that hasn't proven that they can do that consistently yet is difficult. What would be a good number for you to say, yep, I think this offense is taking this step, and I think this offense has looked the way I expected them to look.
So we have to look at the grand scheme of things and look at how we one thing that which makes I would say our friendship is based off of is logistics, right?
Yeah.
You tend to be more logical than me, right?
Right.
I tend to work within the grand scheme. I look at the big picture. You look at the fine details. I think that's why our dynamic is so good and it works so well, whether it be on camera or off. Because we've entertained people ever since we've been friends from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Logistically, I think if you're scoring 24 points a game, 25 points, 30 points a game in that area, you should be winning majority of your game. Now, I understand that the average football game, average college football game is around 20 points. So if you're going above that, you're doing pretty well. Okay. So to me, if you're in that 24 to 30 range, you're pretty much winning each ball game.
I would disagree. In the Big 12, I don't think 24 to 25 points is enough per game.
Really?
No, not at all. Not with the way the offenses are built in the Big 12.
Okay.
Here's the thing. You have, and we'll just forget this year, right? Because I think maybe this year might be a little bit different outside of Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look the last 3 or 4 years, specifically at Oklahoma
right.
State. Kansas when they went on their little run last year before their quarterback got hurt. These guys were scoring 30, 35, 40 points pretty consistently every single game, right?
Mm.
And when they played each other, they were going in the 50s and 60s. 3 years ago, right? Not 3 years, 2019 maybe. LSU, and Texas when they played.
Right.
There was 150 points, 160 points in that game. Wasn't it something ridiculous like 50? I think it was 55-49 or something like that. That wasn't even an overtime game.
Right.
So I think if you're only putting up 20, 25, borderline even 30 points a game, I don't think that's enough. Okay. I don't think that's enough just because of the way these offenses are built.
Right. So I didn't think about the conference. I wouldn't really thinking about the aspect of the conference. I'm thinking, and when I say from a 24 to 30 point range, the average college football game is 30 points, right?
Right.
Average team scores 30 points. So I'm looking at from 24 to 30 because I'm hoping and wishing and praying that defense is making some stops, maybe making some turnovers, maybe even scoring some points to where offense doesn't necessarily have to be on the field. So that's how I'm looking at the thing. That's how I'm gauging it.
That's fair.
Now we're talking just straight up Big 12. In order to win the Big 12, yes, you're gonna have to put up a lot of points. That's what the Big 12 is known for, right? The Big 12 is known to put up a lot of points. One of the running jokes that a lot of people in the last couple of years have always said is oh, the Big 12 doesn't play any defense. Well, the Big 12 is just not. They don't back down when it comes to putting up points. They definitely put up points, and we've seen other conferences get points just hung on them. So that is true. Yes, that is definitely true.
Real quick, I want to shout out to my Uncle Tracy here. Uncle Tracy, what's going down?
What's going on, Uncle Tracy? How's it going? Thanks for stopping by.
But I do want to add, I think Big 12 defensive numbers are badly skewed because the offenses are so good.
Right.
And defense is one in the Big 12. If you're only allowing 25, 26, 27 points per game in the Big 12, it's actually pretty good in that conference, right?
Right.
And I think I can understand where you're saying 20 to 24 points as a whole nationally. I completely agree. Right. I'm thinking about it like you said. Texas plays in the Big 12. What do they need in order to be consistently good? I do think they need 28 to 30, 35 points a game.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah,
and I do. And the reason why I would say it's only that because I do think the defense is good enough to hold them to even less than that. Right.
Right.
I think Texas's defense, just based on the roster, can hold any of these teams to less than 25 points a game. There's not really a team on the schedule in conference I'm really worried about, except Kansas State.
Right. Well, and
even Kansas State, but I don't even think the game against Kansas State's going to be. I mean, it's really going to come down to can Will Howard win a shootout?
Right.
And I gave the prediction last week that I do think Kansas State wins. I don't think they're going to win because of their offense, though. Because Will Howard, I don't know if you know this, Will Howard's never beaten Texas. As crazy as those games, Texas hasn't beaten, or Kansas State hasn't beaten Texas in almost 10 years.
Right.
As crazy as that sounds, right? As hard as that game is, I think it's been 6 or 7 years since they've won or beaten Texas. And Will Howard's never beaten Texas. So I do think you need kind of into that 35-40 range in order to win consistently in this conference.
Right.
So just news for nuggets there. So, yeah, I mean, I think overall it looked good. I heard some good things about Jalen Catalon, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Right.
I heard some good things. Isaiah Naylor is back out there. No brace.
No brace. Oh,
no brace.
Fully
recovered from his ACL injury. Out there, was making some plays. I saw one pitch on Twitter of him catching what looked like a deep ball Also,
what was that? What was that highlight that you sent me over the weekend where Quinn drops it over that guy's fingertips?
Yep.
Like it goes over his fingertips and he drops it like
drops an absolute dime.
Right. He threw a nice ball.
Yeah.
It was a nice ball. It goes over the fingers. I can't remember who it was, but they got up there to try to get the ball.
It was the AD Mitchell.
Okay.
He was throwing it to AD Mitchell. I don't remember who the defender was, but I was thinking the first thing I thought about, I was like, man, this is exactly what Tim wanted to see.
Right.
This is the type of throw that Tim wanted to see.
Right. And that's exactly what I sent you a text. I was like, that is exactly what the hell I want to see. I don't want to see nothing less than that.
Right.
Every single throw needs to be with some type of touch. If there needs to be some velocity there, put the velocity there. There needs to be a touch on the ball. We know he can do that. We've seen him do that in game. Yep. What I did not see enough of was him dropping a straight up dime. That's exactly what I want to see. Don't dink and dunk me, dog. Yeah. I know you can throw the ball. I know you got some Patrick Mahomes in you. And I don't like comparing people to Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. There's not too many.
Yeah, he's weird.
Yeah, there's not too many Patrick Mahomes. But I've seen him just like playing around, throw a ball on a rope. Yep. And it's zipping through the air. So that's what I want to see more of. If he has the opportunity to get the ball out like that, get that ball out, because those are going to be those pivotal third downs on the road, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4 in the end zone, going for it on 4th down. If he's making throws like that, Sark is going to let him go. Sark is not going to hold back. He's going to be like, all right, cool. You can make that throw. I trust you to make that throw. Get it in there. Fit it in the hole. You know what I'm saying? Like get that ball from point A to point B real quick. So, what's the quarterback situation? Well, we kind of talked about it. Harish, if you want to kind of go back over it, I still want to. We'll talk off air about that whole situation with the Arch getting closer to the starting position. I definitely want to hear about that. But go ahead, I'll let you recap that.
Yeah, the quarterback situation is that there is no situation. That's the quarterback situation. The quarterback situation is that we have a quarterback. His name is Quinn Ewers. He doesn't have a mullet. He's the spokesperson for Kroger.
He's beefed up.
He's beefed up. That's the quarterback situation.
He's healthy, 100% healthy.
I think that's the other thing, right? The other thing to that is he is healthy, so he is able to make those types of throws. I think it now makes me think: did the shoulder impact him more than we think it did?
I think so. I think the shoulder was
looks
a lot more
different.
I think
Nova agrees. I was trying to time and avoid that. I couldn't do that, but that's okay.
Right.
So
I think that was an issue last year that, there's a difference of being like hurt and there's a difference of being injured. Right. Anytime you play football, you're going to get hurt. You're going to jam your finger. You're going to roll your ankle. You're going to, you're going to take some bruises. You're going to take some hits. That's all a part of the game. That's a part of, you're hurting like in that game, right?
Sure.
Being injured is another thing. I think Quinn was injured and still wanted to play. Because there was times we were hanging out and Quinn made a throw and I was just like, why would he make that throw, dude? Like, that's not a good throw. Yeah. Now, let me be completely honest. I've never thrown a football 60 yards to a receiver. That's not my job. My job was to hit people, right? My job was never to get the ball, drop the ball on the sidelines to a receiver. And that will never be my job. That is not my thing. But you can kind of tell if you've played ball, if you understand the game, you can see the mannerisms. You're like, man, that don't look right. That don't look normal. That doesn't look normal. What's going on? Right. And it just made me question what was going on at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a sign of how healthy he is versus how healthy he hasn't been in the past couple of years. So we'll continue to look at that. we've discussed the scrimmage for quite a bit now, so I want to move on here. I put this quote up here, and real quick, just to give you guys some context, if you guys have ever seen John Wick, any of the John Wick movies and all four of them, right? John Wick lives by this this motto in the movies where he's not the hunted, he is the hunter, right? We are the hunters, and it's like this motto that he has that he uses throughout the four movies. Full transparency, I've only seen the first one. That was probably like 10 years ago, so I really don't remember.
Man, that franchise is awesome, dude. If you want to watch
I'll go back and watch it.
For those who don't want to watch a quick side note, Max has got all four. So you can sit there and just back to back. Oh, John Wick is so good. If you just want to watch some action, you don't care about character development. If you just want to see some straight up action where they get to it from the start of the movie to the end of the movie, there you go. It's a perfect Saturday to do it, because the next Saturdays I'm not watching nothing.
I'm not watching John Wick. I'm watching football week. Yeah, I'm watching football week.
We're watching football.
I ain't watching nothing.
Right.
No movies, no TV. I'll watch some TV shows, but no movies. I don't really watch a lot of movies in general. Anyway, so he talks about we are the hunters, and really what I want to point out here is just a couple of things and a couple of observations. We'll make this really quick. John Wick talks about we are the hunters, and right, we're no longer the hunted.
Right.
So they're on the offensive. They know what to do. They're making the first plays.
Right.
To me, three things. If something happens three times, it's a trend, right? The first time, it's an anomaly. It's a one-off. It's like, oh, man, that happened.
Right.
We'll keep an eye out for it, but we don't want to look at it too much. The second time could be a coincidence, right? They say second time's a coincidence. Well, that's interesting. It happened once, but did it just by chance happen again? Maybe. Right. I don't know. When it happens three times, you got yourself what we call a trend, right? So I'll break this down. Big 12 Media Day is about a month ago at this point. Quinn Ewers says this exact phrase: "We're the hunters," and that's how we are going into this season. And I was thinking, well, that's an interesting thing for the quarterback to say. Maybe there's a mentality shift in himself, right? Because it's only the first time. Last week, coincidentally enough, Coach Sharp talked about it in his press conference. He basically said, "We are the hunters." And then it just randomly happened. Maybe it was just a coincidence that he said it.
Right.
Jaron Thompson was interviewed today, and I don't remember by who. Jaron Thompson. So Quinn Ewers is the leader of the offense.
Right.
Coach Sark, who's the coach, right? Now you have Jaron Thompson, who's the leader of the defense. Now just said today, we are the hunters.
Right.
So now you've got yourself a trend. I think there is a mentality, a mob mentality, if you will, of this entire team, and that's maybe the motto of the year is "We are the hunters."
We are the hunters. Yeah.
What do you think about this? And in general, you've played in football, you played in team sport, right? Like this, are these types of things true where people live by mottos inside of your team?
Yeah. I will even though I played semi-pro football for quite a bit of time, I'll harken back to one that I will never forget. And that was the motto was "Save nothing for the swim back." And that was by the former Lanier High School, former Reagan 5A champion, three-time 5A champion, also played in the state championship for John H. Reagan High School here in Austin, Texas, Dennis Cedar. I remember my senior year, he was watching a movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank now. But basically, he showed us this clip, and it was just two boys, and they were swimming, and one of them got tired, and the other brother came in and picked up the other brother from drowning, and he swam back, and he just kept swimming. He kept swimming, and the younger brother was like, "Dude, like, why? Let's just go back. Let's just go back." And the brother was basically saying, I'm not going back. I'm saving nothing for it.
Yeah.
We're either going to die out here, or we're going to get to where we want to be. and they were trying to break loose from a situation. But yeah, that is something that to live by. I honestly, I think about that all the time. I think about that message all the time. It was very emotional. I remember it was so impactful that I remember what we were doing. I remember who I was sitting by. I remember the time. I remember the day because it was just that impactful, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if that is their motto, if their motto is "We are the hunters," then yeah, you're going to see a change. If your coach can reach you in that manner, because at that point that's not even about a situation. That ain't even about the football field, right? That's about like life, right?
Right.
You
Right.
want to be the hunter in life. You want to take things head on. You want to, do whatever, right? Because I can look at that in decipher that in many ways. And so I'm pretty sure that's how he presented it. He presented it from a John Wick standpoint on the football field. Yeah, we're the hunters. We're the University of Texas.
Yep.
People look at us and we don't need to be the hunter. We need to be the hunters. We need to change this mindset. We need to get out of, oh, we're the University of Texas. We're the University of Texas, but we are the hunters. We do the killing, we do the circling, we do we do it all, right? From a life standpoint.
The second piece to that, yeah.
Go ahead.
The second piece to that is not only are we the hunters, but we are also the hunted. So we're kind of doing both at the same time.
Right. Yeah. We're the hunted.
Everybody's going to bring their breath. Yeah. Everybody's going to bring their best when they play Texas. I
Right.
don't care if you want to believe it, not believe it. It's a known
it just is, right? Know for a fact. Ohio State, they know when anytime they step on the field, whether it's ULM, Louisiana Monroe, or if it's Michigan, somebody who's on that team is trying to knock their heads off, right? Somebody believes that they can be the next Appalachian State and beat Ohio, beat Ohio State, or beat A&M, or beat Michigan. Like, you're just gonna get that. If you're Alabama, yeah, people are gonna want to knock your freaking block off. You're Georgia, people want to knock your head off. This is what happens when you breed success. This is what happens when you are a big program. Have we been the biggest winners in the last 10 or 12 years? No. But from a branding standpoint, from the state itself, and from the history within itself, there's a lot of pride that comes with that, with that name draped across your chest, whether you played or not. Like, there's a sense of pride when you put those letters on. And whether you're a 3-star, 1-star, or walk-on, whatever, like, you represent the entire state of Texas. People don't think of Texas A&M when they think of Texas. They think of the University of Texas. So yeah, is it a bit arrogant? Even being a Texan, you've been here. You know that there's a real state pride being from the state of Texas, living here, moving here, whatever the case may be. There's a sense of pride that comes with that, and that pisses people off. So I get it. Like, you have to be the hunter because you're being hunted just by who you're affiliated with. Yeah. So whether it's a winner or a big program, like, you're gonna be the hunted. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think the last piece to add to that is because you now got a trend, right? And Sark's situation and Sark's scenario, being the head coach at Texas, I think he's finally breeded his culture. And I think this is what he wants, right? He wants guys to go out and be the hunters. Right. He wants guys to do this. And I think that's the thing that I kind of pulled out of it.
Absolutely.
And so we'll see if it translates to the field. Listen, everything at this point sounds great.
Yeah, it all sounds great.
It sounds great. Texas is the B word. Like, it sounds awesome, right? I want to see some W's this year. And if I see anything less than the Big 12 championship, it is a failure. That point blank period.
I feel
9 wins is great. 10 wins is great. If you don't win the Big 12, I don't care. I personally don't care.
I understand. That's not a lot of pressure That's just the expectation that it sounds like Sark is putting up there. I mean, we've both talked about it in passing within the last couple of weeks as Big 12 Media Days. He's been on Rich Eisen on three. He's done things with on three. Yep. Uh he's done interviews with Greg McElroy and Colin Cowherd. Like, that is the expectation. Yep. And his expectation is we win the Big 12. That needs to go across the board. Everybody has to be on the same page. Because if it's not, then you got another issue. And that is something that we can go into on another day in time.
Well, we won't
down the line.
Right.
Hopefully everybody's on the same page. I really hope that that's the case, because when you're not on the same page and you're playing and your coaches are doing this and you're doing that, it never works. Yep. And that can lead to a regime change.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's literally the last thing at this point where Texas is heading into a new conference, the last thing you want to see.
Right.
All right. So you and I talked about this pre-show, but I want to kind of fill in some context here. So the topic is playmakers. This is and I've asked you to put together a list, but I want to explain together while you get your list together, I'm going to explain to the audience and the crew what this list is and why I'm curious about it. I was listening to Orange Bloods earlier today. Shout out to those guys, Orange Bloods, love those guys.
Right.
My guy Rod Babers. I don't know if you remember a couple years back, maybe 3 years ago, right before COVID, actually.
Right.
The Texas OU game where we chatted with Rod at Pluckers.
We basically watched the game with him, pretty much.
He's such a cool dude.
Yeah.
Rod Babers is a really, really cool guy, down to earth guy. Former Longhorn, was on the 40 acres during before the Vince Young days, right? He got brought in with Nathan Vasher class.
Right. That was a really nice class. That was
a great defensive class.
Defense-wise?
Yeah. People don't realize Rod was an All-American when he was here.
Yeah, he was an All-American. He also had a stint with the Detroit Lions for a while. Yep. Before ultimately I believe he got hurt, which is unfortunate. But yeah, he's been around. He's been around with ESPN for a while. Yep. Now working with Orange Bloods. So he's been around for a while now, covering the Horns.
Great guy, super cool guy. Well, anyway, earlier today he was talking about his time at Texas, and he started off talking about Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson. No, the linebacker. I just drew a blank on his name again. Horrible. He was talking about Derek Johnson. Sorry.
Derek Johnson. There we go.
And how Derek Johnson had this move to get the ball out. It was like a jackhammer, right? He was like, it really pissed me off because I didn't know how to do it. But he taught us because it was so effective.
Right.
He then went into this rant around there are just certain guys who have a knack for just getting the ball out, right? Whether it's a fumble, an interception, a forced turnover, key moments, no key moments, just an act for getting to the ball.
Right.
Talked about Larry Johnson, talked about Derek Johnson, talked about Nathan Vasher, Earl Thomas, Caden Stearns, and he talked about how we've had all these guys on our team that had this capability.
Right.
Last year we had one guy that did that on a very, very consistent basis.
Right.
And that has turned him into national recognition of being on the All-American watch for 2023. Jalen Ford, linebacker, surprisingly enough, right?
Right.
The question for you is how many guys Jalen Ford last year averaged what we call what Rod called one playmaking play per game. A game-changing play, whether it was a forced fumble, blah, blah, blah. Knowing that, and I'm sure he's still one of them, right? How many guys on this defense match that same criteria today, in your opinion?
So there's two that stand out to me. One is going to be Jahad Barron, cornerback, defensive back. I think he is going to end up, along with Ford, I think he's going to end up being one of the emerging leaders throughout the year. I've heard nothing but great things about him. He stood out. That was one of the another things that he stood out in the scrimmage. We know he's got the playmaking ability. He's a senior this year. So it's really his time to shine, really.
Yep.
Another guy that stood out to me actually is a transfer. And that's going to be Jalen Catlin.
Yep.
Jalen used to play safety at the University of Arkansas. Before he got hurt, he's a tackling machine. Now, he's a bit undersized. He's honestly, if you really think about it, he's like at that 5'10", with cleats on. He's probably like 6 foot because the cleats give you about 2 inches. So he's like 5'10" with cleats on 6 foot. He's light for a safety, but he likes to hit.
Yes.
And he likes to hit people hard.
Yep.
He's
got a little Cam Chancellor in him.
Right. He is
attitude wise. I'm not comparing the player. I'm just saying
right.
His
attitude
the way
wise,
he carries himself on the field.
Play wise.
Yes.
You're comparing the game.
Yep.
So play wise, he plays big, right?
Yep.
He's a thumper. He can cut. He's got the speed. He's lighter, right? This is basically like having a corner at the safety position.
Right.
So that really stood out to me when he transferred over. I was really shocked. I was actually very shocked that he transferred over.
I think a lot of people were.
So that was a really big thing. It
was a big upgrade though because we were
big upgrade. We were lacking depth in that area, and it's good to see that again. Sark, the coach, position coaches felt a need to get out there because they have said that they have been aggressive in the transfer portal, not to just get players to take people away from other teams, but to actually fill in where they felt like they needed some help or where they felt right in at the position. Right. So for him to come over was really great. I did watch quite a bit of Arkansas because at one point in time, Arkansas was pretty good.
Yeah, probably a couple of years ago. That year they slapped us in the face.
Well, I'm just saying like based off of last year. At one point in time, they were playing.
Oh, really last season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they had a nice defense. Yep. They had some really. You couldn't just walk into Arkansas last year and just get a win.
Right.
That wasn't happening. But he was one of the main standouts. So the fact that he's here, maybe he can again add some. I don't know, add some. I don't want to say swagger, but like just kind of bring some pride because it really takes for you to be that small and for you to thump people like the way he does. That gets your defense going. You get somebody that size just wailing on folks. That'll do it. I think of Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas was a small guy. What's my man that played for the Saints? He was also a safety.
Are you talking about Huff?
No, not Huff. He played at Texas after, not Griffin. He played after Earl. God, I can't think of it.
Kenny Vaccaro.
Kenny Vaccaro. Yeah. Kenny Vaccaro. He was taller, but he wasn't. He didn't look like Camp Chancellor, but he was out here thumping folks. That really gets your defense going. When your defensive backs are laying the hammer on people, that gets the defense from a defensive lineman perspective and from a linebacker perspective. That does a lot. So yeah, that's who I think. Do I think there are potential for more? Yes, but we haven't seen them play, right? Of course, Anthony Hill Jr., of course, I'm thinking about him always. That was the first person that came to my mind, but we haven't really seen him play, and we don't really know where he's going to end up. They have talked so much about moving this guy around. It sounds like they got like almost like a baby Micah Parsons on their hands because they're just saying like, oh, we put him at this place on this drill. We put him on this place at this drill. We put him on this. I feel like at one point in time, like he's going to end up being an edge rusher. Like he might be an edge, or like he might be.
I think that's the intention.
Right. because
This
he's
year.
slated to be a linebacker.
Right.
But he's slender, he's a slender guy. Of course they're gonna add the weight onto him with working out and stuff, and getting with the nutritionist. So I definitely feel like that's another player potentially, but he hasn't played ball on the college level just yet.
Okay.
What about you?
I've got 5 people on this list.
Who? Give them to me.
So here's the thing. The obvious one is Jalen Ford, right? Jalen Ford has done.
Of course,
it.
I'm not even thinking about Jalen Ford when we already know how he's proven. He's proven.
Putting him in my total.
Right.
The other one I'm thinking about, and I'm a huge fan of.
Right.
And you know who I'm about to go to. He's probably my favorite player on the team.
Right.
Ryan Watts. Love
yeah.
Ryan Watts.
Right.
Cornerback, senior, transferred in from Ohio State, is going to bring this defense together. Right. I think that's the guy that kind of sticks out to me. He's not going to be the flashy guy, but again, we're talking about a guy that makes impact plays. He's an impact player. I think he has the opportunity to do that.
Right.
You already talked about him, Jalen Catalon, so I won't go too deep into it. I really like Byron Murphy. I love me Byron Murphy.
I do like
Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy's the dog.
Right.
He's better than what we've had in the past in the last couple of years at that position. We're going to talk about that.
Oh my God.
Better than Keandre Coburn, who, by the way, there's a handful of guys that we can go in and talk about that are actually really, really good. Keandre Coburn's one of them.
Right.
But they didn't do anything at Texas because we had 2 coaches that couldn't develop a caterpillar, right?
Right.
So Keandre Coburn's one of those guys. He's actually sitting on an NFL roster right now. And he might be close to making the 53. So we'll see. Keep an eye out for that. But anyway, Byron Murphy, I think he's going to have a breakout year at that. I think he plays 3 technique. He's a defensive tackle, plays 3 technique. They need a guy that can get to the quarterback, make some space for the edge rushers. I think Byron Murphy's going to be awesome. And then the last guy I have, so you picked Jahdae Barron. I'm picking Jaron Thompson.
Okay. All right. I'm not knocking that. I like that. That.
That's the guy. That's the guy that says we want to be the hunters.
Right.
What better way than to go be the hunter? And I think it's 3 of my 5 were in the secondary because it's the strongest unit on the field.
Right.
I think our secondary is probably the best piece of that defense that we had as a group, right? Linebackers as an individuals are good, but I think as a group, that safety group is that secondaries. This is the deepest secondary we've had at Texas in a very long time.
Yeah, the secondary is one of the stronger points this year based on just what they've added from the transfer portal. I'm really, really happy to see that they have addressed it. I really think that they've covered and have done what they needed to do to get to get to a point to where they feel confident with that group.
The one thing that worries me about the secondary is if he has a history, so you got to look out for it. Jalen Catalon, if he gets hurt, we're running slim pickings back there.
Right.
A lot of our strength in the secondaries and DBs, which is nice.
Right.
Nice to have in the Big 12, by the way.
Right. Because there's a lot of
really
wide receivers in it. Yeah, there's so many wide receivers.
But safeties are guys you need as well. And if Jalen Catalon, especially the way he plays,
right?
Because he plays, people like to call it violently. That's why he likes to play violently, right?
Right.
Hopefully he doesn't get hurt because we were pretty slim at safety.
But
just a very interesting topic. I thought we'd just go through that really quick. Week 4. So we are going to wrap up the regular season this week of our predictions.
Right.
And I think at this point, we both have us so far at 1 loss to Kansas State, interestingly enough.
Right.
We both have us losing to we have the exact same loss, which I thought was very interesting. So first off, I want to thank you for making this boring because you picked the exact same games that I did to win and lose. So either we are like the same person or you intentionally made this boring. So I appreciate that.
I think we both realistically look at what, again, we both know that Texas is very capable of losing at Alabama. We
Yeah.
know that there are other things that are that could happen. We both know how Oklahoma Texas game could go. It doesn't matter who's there, who's not.
Yep.
It doesn't matter where they are in the program throughout the year. That game can swing either way, especially the way momentum has it. We've seen it happen. So we're aware of that. We just feel like they've gotten past that point to where they're starting to put complete games together.
Well,
That is,
so.
yeah, right. We're hoping that they're able to do that.
Gotcha.
We've
Fair
seen
enough.
flashes of it. We would just like to see it more consistently. And so
that's basically what it comes down to,
right. But there's always that, like I stated, like I've stated every week that we've done this. There's always been that one game where you kind of just look over, or you're not paying attention and you mess around, you get thumped.
Yep.
And Kansas State has always played Texas tough. Whether it be in Manhattan, Kansas, or in Austin, it's always been. I remember one year, I remember seeing Colt McCoy getting knocked on his butt, and they carted him off, and people were calling him Cart McCoy. That sucked. So we know that they have a history of that. So if they were to lose a game, I feel like this is where they would trip up.
Okay.
Right.
We're gonna look at the last 3 games of the year.
Right.
On paper, this is probably the easiest stretch of the season, honestly.
Right.
Should be. We don't have to go to the worst stadium in the world in Lubbock. We do have to go to Ames. But first, we also have to go to Fort Worth. So November 11th at TCU. Here, there in Fort Worth. What you got?
I have TCU winning this game. I have Texas winning this game. Here's why I have Texas winning this game. I think they know that last year they had the Big 12 title in their hands to punch a ticket in if they don't lose to TCU. If I'm Sark and I'm the coaches, this is where I'm like, hey, these guys won the Big 12 last year, or these guys kicked us out of the Big 12 race last year. We need to go get our get back. Yep. We need to go and throttle them. I'm hoping that they're ranked. I'm hoping they're up high so that Texas can roll in there and throttle them. I want some Alabama, Tennessee, Chattanooga type shit. Like I need that. I need that. I need that. I need Texas to roll in there, put a foot on their neck early, and get them out of the game. So I'm thinking from a revenge standpoint, I'm thinking, hey, this is what needs to happen. The Iowa State game, Brock Purdy ain't there no more. Okay, Brock Purdy gone. He been gone.
Busy at the casino down there in Ames.
Right, Brock Purdy gone. Right, so I'm not worried about that. Do they play Texas hard? Always. Now,
especially in Ames. Hopefully, this is so. The timing of this game hasn't been decided yet. So hopefully, it's not.
I feel like it's going to be an early morning game.
I hope so. I don't want a 2:30 game. I don't think this team does well even in 2:30 games.
You think it's either early morning or bright lights, big city?
It's not. I think it's just going to be an early morning game because unless Iowa State somehow is like contending,
right?
I don't think this game matters.
Right, and then Texas Tech. Texas Tech is interesting because, of course, of the wide receiver that they got, the quarterback that they got.
Tyler Show? That dude sucks.
Hey, man, people in Lubbock, the fans in Lubbock really feel like they got something good going on there, and they might have. You know what I mean? We don't know yet. But until I see what happens, I'm going to say Texas is going. Now, I have the right to change that if we get to week 5 and Texas Tech is like throttling people. Then I'm going to be like, all right, well, hold on now. Yeah. But we're not playing in Tech, and that is how
that's the only thing. I hate playing in Tech.
God, it's an eye roll because it's usually nasty. It's usually slow. It's usually like cold for some reason. And this game is
something weird happens.
Somebody gets injured. Somebody gets knocked. I don't know for this, but with I feel like we're gonna win that game. I feel like we're gonna win that game. Again, you got a freshman quarterback at Texas Tech. You got a freshman big time wide receiver there. We'll see how things go. We'll see if they'll be able to step up and compete in the big lights, because that's the night game. That's going to be probably the primetime game of the night. It's at 6:30 on Thanksgiving night. Outside of the NFL, that's
Black Friday.
going to be the game.
I just realized that was the Black Friday.
Yep. Wait,
that's here.
Right, it is here. That's not Thanksgiving Day.
Thanksgiving's on Thursdays.
Right.
This is Friday.
Okay. You're right. Okay.
Okay, so that you put us at 11-1.
Right.
All right. I think we lose to TCU.
Back-to-back losses.
Last week we talked about how hard Kansas State plays us.
Right.
We talk about, these teams that we just can't beat, or they always play us tough and we have to scrape our ways. I think I'm probably not joking. In the last 10 to 15 years, I think we've only beaten TCU like twice.
Yeah, it is twice.
I can only remember beating
since they've joined the conference. It's been very weird. Yeah. It's been a very weird.
It's just one of those schools that I remember, and I really hope that's not the case.
Right.
But now, if we were at home, I'd be all over this.
Right.
We couldn't beat these guys at home last year with the best running back in the nation. We could, bro. It was a weird game. I get it, and that's the problem.
Weird.
That's the problem. And we should always play weird games against teams like this, right?
It's
I think we lose to
weird.
TCU.
Okay.
I think we throttle Iowa State. I think we blow them out the water. I'm probably 40, 50 points.
Right.
And Arch might play in that game too, right? Because you get 4 games as a red shirt.
Right.
Without bursting it. And I think we throttle Tech. I don't think the Tech game is close.
Okay.
2 years ago, we put up 70 on Tech at home. I don't know if you remember that. I remember that because it was my wedding day that we played Tech. We put up 70 on that game.
Right.
So I definitely remember that day.
Do you remember Deonta Foreman? Do you remember Deonta Foreman versus Patrick Mahomes? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Well, Deonta Foreman had like 200. No, he had like 300 yards rushing in a game.
Yes.
And
they
Patrick
still
Mahomes,
lost the game.
Right. And Patrick Mahomes was throwing like crazy.
Yeah. They lost that game because Tom Herman can't coach.
And that game was in the rain.
It was in the rain in Lubbock, right?
It was here in Austin.
Oh no, it was here.
Right.
Didn't it was it was Thanksgiving, Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It was not Friday.
I remember that was
brutal. That was a brutal game.
I don't see anything like that. And even if I do, I think, but hey, that still puts us as 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we lose to TCU, I don't think TCU is anywhere in the picture. I think they have a big drop off this year.
Okay.
I do think it's Texas, Kansas State, and then everybody else.
Right.
I think Texas will have a spot in the Big 12 championship sealed up before that TCU.
Right. Okay.
And if they don't, they'll win the last game.
So even with the loss, you still have Texas in the Big 12 championship.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you have Texas playing in the Big 12 championship?
Kansas State.
Yep, me too.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, next week we'll take a look at predictions for the Big 12 championship, and then where we see them beyond that. You have them at 11-1.
Right.
I'll be greatly happy with
this. City will be.
It'll be because now we're talking.
Now we're talking playoff.
Now we're talking borderline playoff. Maybe depending on what happens. 2 losses doesn't keep you out of it. You're in the conversation.
Right.
So
right.
Regardless, I think we're in the conversation, which is exciting. I just need to see the reality of that happening.
Right.
So we'll talk about that next week. You have it 11-1. I have them at 10-2.
Right.
Losing back-to-back games.
Right.
All right, Tim. We've spent a lot of time tonight. We've had a lot of really good conversation, but we've got to get out of here. So before we get out of here,
yes, sir.
Let the people know where they can find you.
Well, if you're looking at that little ticker at the very bottom there, you can find me at Tim Wayne on Twitter. You can also find me at Tim Wayne on Instagram. I'm more active on Twitter, so if you want to find me there, you want to talk about football, you want to talk about games, whatever the case may be, feel free to hit me up. Feel free to add me. I have no problem. I'm usually reacting to my man Uncle Gandhi down here getting into it with the fan bases, him poking fun at Oklahoma and A&M, which you kind of shifted within the last couple of weeks. I've noticed you've really been on A&M's neck, really,
bro, because
really,
they're
really
weird.
tough. Really,
Listen,
really tough.
Here's the thing. I have a goal before I make it to the SEC to be known enough on Twitter or X for A&M fans to just flat out hate me. I want to get blocked by an A&M fan. Like, I want it to be that bad.
I'm pretty sure it's bad. You know who you need to go and harass. Then you need to go harass Barstool, A&M.
I do.
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen you.
I mess with Billy Lucci all the time. I really want Billy. That's golden standard right there.
Oh
That's
my
the guy
God.
off that. Yeah, Billy Lucci. Anyway,
Oh my.
That is. I want one A&M fan of relevance to
Right.
I don't know. There's
I think
A&M
it's-
fans
I think
I'm
it's
sure
possible.
that have like five followers and block me, but I want a relevant one to block me. But you guys can find me at the Uncle Gandhi. That is GHANDI. Also find me Sunday nights on the AFC South Fan Battle podcast and Tuesday nights on the Colts Horseshoe Mob podcast. But that's us for tonight. Again, don't forget to visit fanbattlesports.com. In the meantime, in between time, my name is Uncle Gandhi. That is,
My name's Tim Wayne.
we out of here. Peace.
Go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, or go home.